Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, evening TV. You miss your old familiar friends, but waiting just to...
Welcome to Between Downs. This week we're going to talk about your do's and don'ts for week 2 and fantasy football. Cody's going to talk about the big losers for week 1, big winners for week 1. We're going to wrap it up at the end. So right now we're going to go into Donnie with his fantasy corner.
This is fantasy corner, pretty much the whole fantasy football aspect for the week. Talk about the must starters, the sneaky starts, the obvious sit-ems, and the my favorite, play at your own risk. And everyone likes to roll the dice. So I just have a few, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers that are must starts. You don't even got to think about it. Just put them in. It's obvious. So QB, I got a couple options there. You got Jalen Hurts versus Atlanta. Atlanta, they gave up over 24. And Jalen Hurts would have had over 24 points fantasy-wise. Eluded from his 3 turnovers. That's not really going to happen versus Atlanta. I mean, they couldn't even get the ball turned over against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I love dearly. So I would definitely roll with him. Or you can go with, and this one is more from a rushing aspect because I know he's going to do a lot of work there, Lamar Jackson versus the Raiders. He's going to put up at least 20 right off the gate. Vegas doesn't have the defense to keep up with them, and they got to worry about Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers now, so it's going to really open up the run. The running backs, Jonathan Taylor at the Packers. The Packers gave up 144 rushing yards. Now, I know they got Anthony Richardson. He likes to steal some of the runs, but I feel like they're going to really open it up this week. They're going to focus more on Anthony Richardson, trying to keep him in the pocket. It's going to open up more for Jonathan Taylor, so that's going to be real exciting. My second one, again, you're going to hear this one a lot because it's definitely a game that should be won pretty easily, but it's Derrick Henry versus the Raiders. Raiders gave up 170 yards rushing, and Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. I feel like that just speaks for itself. He should go for at least 100, probably a touchdown, 16 points right there, easy peasy. Wide receiver-wise, due to the recent injury and how they don't really like to throw at anyone else apparently, Cooper Kupp versus Arizona. Arizona only gave up 222 passing yards, but it's to the Bills who don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. We all know Cooper Kupp, former Offensive Player of the Year, former Triple Crown winner, and there's no Puka there. He's going to be getting at least 15 targets a game until Puka comes back, guaranteed. And then second one, Tyreek Hill. He's playing against Buffalo, and he can really play against them pretty well. Plus, they don't have the same defense that they had last year. So he's a must start, and it'll be 100 yards easily. And if he can burn the top out that defense like he did last week for the 80-yarder, another touchdown. My surprise pick for the must starts is actually funny because I said I'd be talking about this game a lot. It's Brock Bowers at the tight end position. And this is mainly just because they're going to be down to the Ravens a lot more, and they're going to focus more on stopping Devontae Adams and Myers in the pass game. So Gardner Minshew is really going to be looking for checkdowns, out routes. That's Brock Bowers. If you're in a full PPR, he's definitely got the potential to get you to double digits, which if you can get that from a tight end, it works. Defense-wise, there's a couple good options here. I especially love the Steelers versus Denver because Denver's offense trash completely right now, and Steelers defense is really good, so I feel like that's going to be an obvious holdout. And then also Jets versus Tennessee. Now I know Tennessee technically lost the game, but they really didn't give up any offensive touchdowns and things like that, but also they only scored 17 points, and then after the second half just couldn't hang with the Bears defense. So I really feel like the Jets defense, who is more superior regardless of this past Monday night, they should be able to hold Tennessee down pretty easily. And then for kicker, you got Kyle Fairbairn from Houston. He's playing Chicago. Chicago's got a good enough defense to stop the offense, but not enough to keep them out of field goal range. And he booted 3 from 50-plus yards this past week. Trust me, I know, because I was playing against him in fantasy. Now, for some of my sneaky starts, J.K. Dobbins playing against the Panthers, who gave up 180 yards rushing last week. Even if he's splitting carries with Edwards, he has that big playmaking ability. So I would say him over Edwards, even though Edwards does have the goal. He'll get more goal. He'll be more inclined to get the goal line touches. But I can see J.K. Dobbins breaking a big play versus that Panthers defense. Second one, Chris Godwin versus the Lions. The Lions gave it 317 yards. Mike Evans is going to garner more cornerback one protection, which means Chris Godwin's just going to be eating, and so like he did this past week. I mean, they both ate, but Chris Godwin was definitely more benefits more when Mike Evans is on the field because he's going to garner that number one role. And then lastly, this one, Jaden Daniels versus the Giants. Giants defense is terrible, and Jaden Daniels is going to run the lights out if he's unable to find anyone to pass to. So I could probably see him running for 75 to 100 yards, which in and of itself is 10 points right there. So if you got some QB troubles like Jordan Love, who got hurt, anything else, he's not a bad pickup for this week versus the Giants. Now the sit-ems. There's a few. Pretty much any Green Bay Packer wide receiver. No need to put them in. They are pretty much on your bench until Jordan Love comes back or until they decide that, hey, Malik Willis can't throw a football, so let's not deal with that. And then another one, Zach Moss, running back for Cincinnati. He's really touchdown dependent. And I know this past week, since they didn't perform well, Joey Burrow is going to be wanting to throw the ball more, which means Jamar Chase is going to eat. T. Higgins, if he's healthy, which I believe he is, he'll eat. So there's just not enough touches around the room to go for him. So unless he gets a touchdown like he did this past week, best to keep him on the bench. Then lastly, Derek Carr. He's not going to repeat week one, especially versus Dallas. So really no reason to mind him, unless, again, you have quarterback injuries. Then take a peek. If not, if you don't like anyone you want to keep, put him in. Now, play at your own risk. These are always the fun ones. It's like, do they have great upside potential? Yes, but they also have the ability to ruin your fantasy week. The first one, big contract himself, Deshaun Watson versus the Jags. Now, the Jags defense, they really let Miami throw all over them last week. But Deshaun Watson, he still hasn't been able to figure it out in 3 years. So we'll see. Does he have the ability to do it? Would he love a bounce-back game? I believe everyone wants him to have one. Does he have the ability to do it versus the Jags? Yes, but does he also have the ability to completely screw you over at the quarterback position? Yes, he does. And then the next two are wide receivers. Michael Pittman versus Green Bay. Again, he's the number one receiver on that team. Anthony Richardson really didn't get a whole lot of time with him last year due to the injury. And while he is garnering, I think he received 8 targets this past week, he still garners that number one look, and I don't think Anthony Richardson has that ability to really fit it in the seam for him. And then lastly, Marvin Harrison Jr. versus the Rams. It's really just because he's a rookie, second NFL game. Kyler's still trying to figure him out. And the Rams played a pretty solid game of defense versus Detroit. I mean, they held Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're number 1 to 3 catches. So I could easily see Marvin Harrison Jr. being locked up on there as well. So again, play those 3 at your own risk, and that's Fantasy Corner. And now we're going to go to Cody.
Today we're going to talk about mainly the losers. Don't really need to go after the winners. They know who they are, so enjoy it. Talk about the losers today. I'd like to spotlight the Carolina Panthers. I know everybody's been relatively hard on them. It's just a team that hadn't pulled it together yet. It doesn't look good. They got blown out by the New Orleans Saints, which is kind of tough to do. This is not the Drew Brees New Orleans Saints. This is the Derek Carr New Orleans Saints. Just offensively and defensively, didn't look good, didn't look sound. Nothing was working for them. They couldn't run the football. They couldn't pass the football. I don't think that'll change much with Jonathan Brooks coming back whenever he does come back in week 4 or 5 or whenever he's out. Dave Canales has got a lot of work to do because he's got to pull it all together both offensively and defensively because they struggled defensively as well. You don't give up 47 points and not struggle defensively. So see how that goes moving forward. Joining them at the bottom is going to be the New York Giants. Daniel Jones looked about as bad as you could possibly look in a football game. Him, Deshaun Watson, and Bryce Young are just riding the struggle bus early. But yeah, I think Daniel Jones and the New York Giants have it a little bit worse than the Cleveland Browns. Just it couldn't get anything done. So be interesting to see what kind of adjustments and changes they move forward. I know Brian Daboll is pretty good, good coach. He's going to hopefully get some changes and adjustments to move forward. We'll see what kind of coach Dave Canales is, because he's got a lot of work to do, and I hope Carolina doesn't give up on him. I know a lot of Carolina Panther fans I spoke to this week have in fact given up on him. Right there at the bottom is going to be the Cleveland Browns. The reason why I don't put them in the same category as Carolina and as the New York Giants is because their defense is still pretty good. Defense is still going to be top 5 in the league. Eventually, once they get everything going, Deshaun Watson has to step up and at least prove that he's somewhat of a shell of what he used to be in Houston. Which is going to be a little bit hard because they don't have as many massage parlors in Cleveland, I'm guessing. And don't really have anything else. That'll be it for Cody and the little table.
Stay tuned after this short message.
So how'd the date go last night, man?
Not good. Not good at all. I brought her back to my brother's house and I took her up to my room, which used to be a closet. It's not bad. It's got a little bit of room in it. A lot of shelves. So if you're not paying attention, you can get some shelves. Long story short, we couldn't really do anything because of the shelves. And when she turned, she hit the shelf in her face. So I had to take her to the hospital. She only broke a nose, but it's fine. Whatever. But she told me that she doesn't want to talk to me and that she's not coming back over again.
Maybe you should try getting your own place.
It's a great idea. I've never thought of that before. Do you know a guy?
I do, actually. Scott Howard.
Get many up.
Yeah. Ready
All right.
to start? Okay.
Week 1 is wrapped up, and what a crazy week it was.
Mm-hmm.
With off-the-field stuff and some in-game stuff. More of just teams playing like crap. Some shocking losses, shocking wins. I guess we could start with the whole Tyreek Hill getting arrested or detained pregame.
Big difference.
Yeah. Which the body cam footage just came out last night, which was
Yikes.
didn't help the Miami-Dade police,
No,
unfortunately.
It did not.
Did not help them.
I wonder if the union who said that, the police union for them that came out and said Tyreek Hill was being uncooperative even saw it first before they made that statement. Because, yeah, he was being uncooperative.
But you gave the man like 30 seconds to
But
before.
holy moly, did it jump so quickly. And I'm someone that watches those types of videos where it's like people trying to stand up for their First Amendment rights, not listen to the cop, like try to use authority. And it takes a lot longer than a minute for it to just start wrapping off. Like boom, boom, boom. So, yeah, all in all, personally, those dudes need to be fired. At least the second guy who over the top escalated things
As soon as he
quickly.
walked up.
Like, I understand you're a cop and you're taught to back up your fellow officers, but in no way. And yeah, the first cop seemed a little bit annoyed with the whole window thing.
Yeah, but you got to de-escalate the situation. Somebody has to.
Yeah, someone has to. And and cop number 1 and cop number 2 did not. Like, the fact it was like
There's gas on fire.
Yeah, cop number 1, he was working his way towards agitation, and then he got to it. But that other dude just came in, metaphorically, guns blazing, wanting to just fucking get going.
Yeah, it was. They're just maybe glad that he didn't get hurt. Because if he'd have got hurt and would have had to miss games,
Oh,
it
I
would've
would have been pissed.
there would have been a lot of fantasy teams pissed. Which, speaking of,
there would have been a lot of Dolphins fans pissed,
Oh, yeah, we would have been pissed.
And they would have been at that dude's house.
there were some fantasy teams pissed off this week with the whole Christian McCaffrey. They didn't announce he wasn't going to play until like 15 minutes before the game. 20 minutes.
And we'll get back to Tyreek Hill in a second, but if what Jordan Mason said in his interview last night's true,
That was
I'm
Friday.
even more pissed that you were told you were going to start on Friday.
Yeah.
And you wait till Monday night, 20 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah, it was like 8 o'clock.
Like-
We were at
we were out.
Like, you're doing a disservice to everybody. Now, I understand because you're like, oh, this team's going to be playing for Christian McCaffrey, and instead it's Jordan Mason. But it's like, bro, he's the #1 fantasy player in the league, and you decide to let us know 15 on a Monday night game when it's impossible to replace him unless you have his backup, which I did.
You're talking about a player who was taken #1 overall in 99.9% of all leagues.
Yeah.
And we know of only one league where it wasn't. This guy's. So the fact that he didn't play week 1 and those owners didn't find out till 15, 20 minutes before game time, and at that point, everybody's played, and Jordan Mason's probably already on a team somewhere.
Yeah.
So you have nobody you can pick up and replace in that situation.
In the running back spot.
Yeah, in the running
Not
back
a
spot.
flex, because he's
Yeah,
holding,
'cause
he's holding the running back spot.
I mean, the veteran fantasy people out there, if they have a questionable player, they probably put him in the flex to begin with.
Yeah.
Just so they're ready if that happens, where they can pick up a wide receiver.
But again,
but
that
there's no wide receivers that I would have picked up.
It
either.
goes to the whole questionable tag
Instead
as
of
well.
doubtful.
Yeah, well, because to be honest, you probably could have if you had him. If you had hindsight and you put him in your flex, could you have maybe went and gone and grabbed Alan Lazard? He might have been available in some leagues. I would say so.
I mean, I was called crazy for drafting him last year. This year, I should have thought about it because I think he would have had similar stats last year if Aaron Rodgers was there because they already have that rapport from Green Bay.
Yeah.
He kind of went off everybody's radar this year. Alan Lazard did because their whole offense sucked. We saw the stat last year.
I mean,
what was
their
it?
offense wasn't too great.
Green Bay didn't score. I mean, not Green. The Jets didn't score a touchdown or score any points in the first quarter until week 5. After Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and this year he scored a touchdown in the first drive. Not first drive. It was second or third drive. But still, it was first quarter.
Yeah.
But that just.
I mean, still lost,
But still, yeah, that was a game. I thought the Jets, if they were gonna have a chance to win against San Francisco, it would have been as soon as they found out Christian McCaffrey wasn't there. But guess what? They still couldn't stop Jordan Mason. He ran for 145 yards and a touchdown.
146 on 28 carries.
Yeah, that's a stat for people who like Casey, who picked up Jordan Mason just in case. They didn't really lose anything. That he put up Christian McCaffrey numbers basically.
Yeah, so
except in
that's
the
saying
receiving
if
game.
you just happen to handcuff Christian McCaffrey's backup, you were fine. Outside of that,
You're screwed.
you couldn't do a thing.
Yep.
A thing. So, yeah, that's good advice, though. Like you said, if you got someone that's questionable, even if it is Christian McCaffrey,
Put him in the flex.
throw him in the flex. You still get the same amount of points. There's no difference, you know? I promise you that.
Because then it opens it up where even if you're picking up somebody that only gets one target the whole game, it's more than what you would have got with a 0.
It's better than me. I physically just had to sit there and watch a 0 on my board.
Yep.
Now, I probably wasn't going to win the game anyways because the dude I was playing had Breece Hall and George Kittle. But give me the option.
Yeah, George Kittle had 4 targets in the first 2 minutes
Yeah,
of the game.
but don't handcuff me and say, yeah, hey, he's out.
Yeah.
And I understand the teams don't really care about the fans, but it's look, dude, it's a growing. The fans love to play it. It keeps them actually interested in games outside of their home fan base. I remember back before I played fantasy, I wasn't watching Jets games or Niner games. I would watch the Steelers.
The only game you yelled at was Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Now you yell during every game.
Exactly. But yeah, so it's it allows you to get more outreach to the fans because they want to see how their player's doing. But if you don't know if you're gonna let the player he's in every league. No league doesn't have him starting, and you let people know 30 minutes before game time on a Monday night game. It's complete bullshit, unfortunately.
Nope. Another though, how about what we said about Caleb Williams? I mean, there's still time in the season for us to prove us wrong, but he didn't really prove anybody wrong.
So
the first game, they won. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't do anything to help them win.
That one is more it's your first NFL game, and it's not like it's preseason where you maybe have some starters, but to be honest, those starters aren't really trying in a preseason game. This is week 1. They're going 110% all play, every play. So even though you blew out, you did great during preseason. Trust me, I know Kenny Pickett last year was killing preseason, and then when week 1 starts, these dudes put the helmets on, strap them up, and they say, okay, now it's go time. You know? So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, but I also think they got to get that run game going a lot better. It just was non-existent for them. When you do that, that's going to take some pressure off your young quarterback. And then he's able to throw to these great targets that you got for him. He's able to work the offense. So, but I do like, I mean, he got the win because of the defense, but, you know, you still got a win under your belt, which I know that's going to put his confidence up a little bit more, I guess. Not as much as it would be if he actually performed well, but they're like, hey, we still got the W. We're, you know, up in the hunt for the NFC North because, I mean, hey, that division's tight right there, you know? Like, it's going to be tight at the end, so every win counts.
It's tight right now. It's only been one game. But he did make a short list. Did you see the stats where he's the only quarterback in the last 30 years to have 25-plus pass attempts, under 100 yards, a yard per average under 3.2, 0 touchdowns, and still won the game? The only quarterback can do that.
Yeah, tell me when he goes 2 for 8 for, like, I forget how much it was, but it was like 20 yards.
It's like 24 yards.
24 yards and win the game.
Timmy
Tebow. That's a stat that I can get behind.
Well, they said John Elway.
To be honest, if he goes in
John Elway won a game with one.
He was
with
one
one
of
completion.
7.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
one of 7 for like 10 yards and won the game.
Yeah, but here's my deal: if you can win, and this was the whole reason. Like, I was cool with me and him were cool with Tim Tebow. Yeah,
All right.
is his throwing style a little off?
Unethical, yeah.
Yeah, did
Nothing's unethical about
yeah,
Tim Tebow.
yeah. But it's like, was it just not the norm? Yeah, but you know, he got the W.
They got it.
Last time I checked, that's what teams care about. They care about winning. He won a playoff game.
Yeah.
There have been quarterbacks that have received millions upon millions of dollars that haven't won a playoff game.
Dak Prescott, Tony Romo,
Tua
Tua.
Tagovailoa has made way more money than Tim Tebow in his entire life. But you know what? Tim Tebow still got that one. He got that victory. And yeah, it was versus us. But still, it's okay. I understand. But he got the job done. So if Caleb Williams can somehow do this and perform very poorly from a statistical standpoint, but still, and then your defense is able to just keep you in it with your kicking, and, like, again, if he throws for 100 yards, but doesn't turn the ball over, gets the W, I mean, I don't think the Bears are really going to complain, at least to start. I mean, yeah, they want him to throw for 4,000 yards, which he is off to a very bad start if he's trying to get to that 4,000 mark.
Yeah, he's gonna have to pump up that average.
Yeah, he's going to really have to start slinging the rock. But
He's slung the rock. Threw it 25 times.
Yeah, but
More than 25.
he did have some drops. I'm not going to say he's completely, you know, not blameless or whatever.
But the
But
whole offense, you can blame the whole offense.
the whole offense was
The defense literally did their part.
trash. Yeah, and I forget who's their OC. Isn't it that Shane dude? I think he came from. I forget where he came from, but it also was not a good offense. Damn.
I just know Eberflus.
Was it the Panthers OC?
Could have been.
I think he might have been the Panthers OC, and he went to Chicago. So the dude's just not good at running an offense. You know, it's okay.
To be fair, though,
Figure it
Carolina, even with their OC they have now, they still didn't do anything. I laughed at Bryce Young. It was like almost halftime, and he was like 0 for 2 with one interception. I was like, that's a fabulous stat line, and you're like 15 minutes into the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I couldn't believe that game stayed on TV as long as it did. I was like, why is this game on? This is the longest execution I've ever seen in my entire life.
All the Panthers fans. No, you watch this. You watch this game.
Oh, he was the Seattle.
Eyes glued to the TV.
Sorry, he was the Seattle Seahawks OC for 3 years.
I mean, and their offense was just okay. I mean, it wasn't fantastic.
You
They
didn't-
had better
you didn't blow
options
the
at wide
doors
receiver, and they
off.
had a better running back.
I would say their wide receiver options are pretty. To be honest, I would say it's about the same. I mean, DeAndre
now,
Swift
yeah, now I
could
guess it
compare
is.
to Kenneth Walker. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett can definitely be Keenan Allen and
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, you know. So I think the thing's there, but again, it's just coming down to a quarterback. Like I said, it's a rookie who started his first game. when you compare it to like Geno Smith, who literally been ran through the ringer with 6 other teams. Then he goes to Seattle and finally gets it right, at least for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's week 1. Teams are still trying to fill out each other because how many snaps have these guys played in real competition? Very minimal. So if he's able to sneak these cheap wins in to start.
Who they play this week?
They play Texans.
Ooh, that'll be a test for the defense.
Yeah, because to be honest, Texans defense didn't really do great versus the Colts. And again, Anthony Richardson, I would say still technically in rookie phase. What, he got 6 games in last year before the injury, so
I don't think it was that many, was it?
5 or 6.
5 or 6 would be my guess. But he's still trying to figure it out too. And because he had some misses, but he got lucky on the deep ball and he got lucky with the running. So obviously that Texans defense isn't top notch to where it's going to happen. But I think the Bears defense is better than the Colts. So I think they have the ability to keep the game relatively close.
He played 4 games last year.
Yeah.
He got hurt in game 4.
Yeah, so if they're able to keep the game close within a touchdown, maybe 10 points, then it's going to be up to Caleb to try to just get the touchdown when you can, you know? If you got to run the ball more to help set up the pass, fine. RPO option, also good. There's nothing wrong with it. But just it's going to take time. But I think if they win against the Texans, that's a big win.
That is a big win.
That's the second favorite team in the AFC. So if you're able to sneak a win versus them and still do pretty poor, if their offense does pretty poor still and they still beat the Texans, they got to feel great about that defense, like hands down. Which means Eberflus might keep his job because he's a defensive guy, but and then it's all about if Shane Waldron's ever going to figure it out on the OC end.
Cody, how did you feel about your rookie quarterback?
He did all right. I don't like what they're saying that with the conversations between him and Sean Payton, with like, oh, I want him to improvise a little bit more. I want him to take it a little bit more backyard football. It's like
He's too young for that. You gotta.
He's older than most.
Well, he's the oldest rookie quarterback this year, but
oldest since Brandon Weeden.
Young in the sense of this is all new to him. It's not college football anymore.
It's not, but you did spend 7 years in college football, so you should be familiar with the game at this point. But I don't like when you have to improvise with it, especially with a rookie quarterback. Especially with one that's not necessarily known for his athletic ability. Now he's an athletic quarterback, but he's not your Jaden Daniels, your Anthony Richardsons. Like he's just like, okay, extend a play, make a throw, but
he's a Baker Mayfield type.
He still didn't have that great of a game.
Or like Patrick Mahomes, where you're like, oh yeah, he does have the ability to run.
He can extend the plays.
He just doesn't do it that often.
Yeah. He's not a huge threat when he runs the ball, but he can make you pay for it at times.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a scheduled kind of throws, more scripted out drives from him. It just seemed wild at certain instances,
and they didn't seem like they used the run game hardly.
No.
Because I don't think Javonte Williams barely had any carries.
You got to get Javonte Williams in the game. You got to get Jaleel McLaughlin.
I was at McLaughlin, yeah.
And McLaughlin was fumbling that ball too, though.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to get the run game in. And I think with rookie quarterbacks, like a lot of teams, you got to throw those screen passes and the tight ends.
You got to get them comfortable
early.
first.
Yeah, those are going to be the early passing downs. You got to throw like little screens, little outs, and then as the game progresses on, let them start hitting downfield. Because like every quarterback beginning of the game has those few throws, but they're off just a little bit.
Some nerves. But like I said, again, rookie. First NFL game ever.
Yeah.
So, you want to ease him in. So, it's like, get that run game. If that run game's going and he's able to hit check downs like a screen and out, anything low ball, get his confidence up, then it's like, okay, now take a shot downfield.
You're definitely going to need those short passes next week.
Yeah.
Can't hold the ball for too long next week.
No. Steelers are coming. And hopefully T.J. Watt doesn't get his sacks taken away from bullshit penalties.
2 sack fumbles taken away.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, at least the ref apologized for screwing up after, because that makes it better.
The funny thing about it is his stat line at the end of the game was significantly under what he actually performed in the game.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Because they just showed his stat. They showed his stat line at one point in the game, and it was like he had 2 QB hits in a hurry, and I was like, but he had 2 sack fumbles that just, they got called back for penalties. Yeah, we just don't count those. And I was like, yeah. He changes the face of the game when he's in the game, and
like I was telling everybody, I'm like, dude, this is a guy
almost defensive player of the year.
Yeah, unless he breaks the sack record, they're not going to give it to him because he doesn't have the best pass win rate percentage.
Sure.
You know, that thing, he doesn't have the highest double team win rate, whatever that means. How I see it is
Aaron Donald stat.
Yeah. I see it it's a Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett stat. That's all they pretty much do. They're like, hey, look, they can't keep up with TJ in the regular statistics, so we'll make these up to make it seem more efficient. But in the end, again, we said it last year, sacks actually affect the game. You getting double teamed and winning but not affecting the quarterback in any way, shape, or form doesn't exactly do anything. You know what does? Sacking them, stripping them, recovering the fumble like TJ did because he had a great jump, but the refs are just too... I don't know. I understand they were in Atlanta, so they were just like, hey, how can we give this team the game? Oh, by doing this. It was one of the worst reffing experiences I've ever seen, at least from a defensive side. It's like, look, the league's already handcuffing TJ, so you don't need to do it as well. And with that strip sack, if they allow that play to go through, guess what? Kyle Pitts doesn't get a touchdown, which means the game's a lot less than what it was. You know, it's not 18-10.
I enjoyed that touchdown in fantasy.
I'm sure a lot of people did because they were like, hey, it finally works. But it also helped that he's wide-ass open on a blown coverage. Other than that, I don't really think he did much. But I'd have to venture to you for that. But yeah, the offensive-wise, though, Justin Fields, he did some okay things. He did some things that we're used to. Had that fumble in the first series, but recovered it perfectly fine. I was a little weary whenever he was getting under center for some of the key downs. I was like, hey, put him in shotgun. You know, what's wrong with that?
Putting a quarterback like that under center kind of takes away his ability to see the field.
No, it's just more of you know he's known for fumbling, and even in the preseason he's having trouble with the center snap exchange. Like go to pistol form. That's perfectly fine. That's 1 yard difference, and he could still affect you in some way. But he made some good throws to George Pickens.
That's all you got.
Really, only George Pickens. So
really. I mean, you can make bad throws to George Pickens.
Well, here's the deal.
Catch him.
Here's the deal, though. With Patrick Surtain being on Denver's D, he's going to have to look for other people.
Yeah, so Freiermuth has to step up and be
Freiermuth, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, whoever is wanting to make it happen. But yeah, and you know, Najee ran for 70 yards, very solid. Jaylen Warren kind of really didn't get a jump start in, but he's also kind of dealing with a little bit of an injury, so I get that. But I was pleased, except for the fact that we just couldn't get in the end zone, you know, and that's fine versus Atlanta. Hell, that's probably going to be fine versus Denver. But when we get into week 9 and 10,
we won't get in the end zone.
And we're dealing with, you know, the Chiefs, the Ravens, Eagles, teams that are putting points on the board, you got to get in the end zone. Luckily, that's at the back half. So if we can, like I said, again, cheap wins, let the quarterback or quarterbacks, depending on how it goes, figure it out and how to get this offense in form and in check by, you know, the bye week when our schedule really gets going. If we can be 6-2, 7-1, or maybe, I forget, I think we're bye week 10. So if we're 7-2, which with this schedule can definitely be done by then that's going to really build confidence to the back half, which is just a complete. It's a marathon at that point.
I will say that I'm happy to see that Russell Wilson is still weird.
Listed as inactive, but still dressed completely.
You're inactive. You're not even quarterback 2. That's Kyle Allen, but still standing there full gear. I mean, good for you. But
Well, could he still technically
No.
be done as the emergency quarterback?
No, once you're listed as inactive, you're inactive. You can't.
I don't know what the full
Yeah.
roster that they put in was. I just know that everything had him inactive, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think once you list them as inactive, they can't touch the field.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess. I really don't know. Because then I wondered who their emergency QB was then.
Probably whoever was on the practice squad.
I do like it, though, because it's like the emergency goalie in hockey. I hope, knock on wood, I mean, I hate that it would happen, but I would love to see it one day. The emergency QB getting the call up, you know?
Running out of the tunnel like the bullpen.
Well, I mean,
Seriously, it's...
Denver had to start Kendall Hinton
That's true.
couple years ago.
But he's the reason why they
Was that when Brock started and
instituted
went down and then...
that was when the entire quarterback room got
COVID. Yeah, it was the
Oh,
COVID
yeah,
year.
that was the COVID.
Very different circumstance. This is more like when the Steelers versed Miami and we
didn't
took
have an
out
emergency quarterback.
your starter and then Matt Moore and then Pat White in like a very
Pat
short
White.
sequence. And I forgot.
And it was Thigpen, White,
yeah, Thigpen.
and we ended with
White.
like Beck or somebody like that. I can't remember.
I
who
thought
the
Matt
third one
Moore was in there too. I could have sworn it was
I think
Matt
Matt Moore was after that.
They could have brought
'Cause-
him in after that.
I don't
It could've
know.
been.
All I know is like you
Or no,
guys were
Thigpen was
down
one
to-
who came in.
Thigpen was,
third.
yeah, Thigpen was the one that came in
Yeah.
because he actually threw like 2 touchdowns and he got the game back in check.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
But-
Pat White was in for literally like 2 plays.
he was.
He got his bell rung and he was just
James
like,
Harrison
he quit
beat
football after that
the fuck
basically.
outta him. He threw that.
He left the
short.
NFL and went to baseball, like literally after that game.
Good for
Pretty
him.
sure that was the last game he played because he played in the MLB for somebody. He played the outfield for like a season.
Maybe
Lot
a
less
gotta be a
contact.
farm
Yeah.
team too. I don't think he made majors. Would be my guess.
No, I think he played in one major game. I remember
I feel
seeing
like
him.
I would have heard about
Uh,
that.
but week 1's down. Football's here. I got week 2 coming up.
Yep, we're excited, and every week we'll try to do our best to give you the fantasy updates, biggest winners and losers, and the highlights of the week. There will be plenty more to come.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Today's episode was sponsored by Handcuffs. You know why.